Welcome back, everybody, to the Mullins Studios Podcast. This is Marr, and I'm with BlackCross Gameplay.
Hello, guys.
And it is freezing outside. It's been cold for a while. I'm wearing sweatpants instead of my khakis because when it's freezing, I have to wear something that'll keep me warm. And spring is almost here, right?
Should be next week.
I hope so,
which is weird considering how cold it's been.
I really hope it starts. Well, actually, it's supposed to be warming up a little bit. Hopefully, where you guys are at, it is warm. If not, Alaska has decided to take over and make everything chilly. But yeah, so far the podcast's been doing really good. We've been getting some good feedback of people watching it, and we're happy that it's doing well so far. But still, if you guys have any suggestions for future topics, you can either comment on this video or better yet, email me at danielmullinsflea@gmail.com. Send in all questions and stuff. And hey, you could also, aside from sending stuff regarding podcasts, you can also send some general questions about how our videos are doing and so on. But let's go and cut the chit chatter and get right to it.
Alright then.
Who started last time?
You go first. I've started the last couple of times. You get to go first.
Didn't I start it?
No, I started it technically.
I can't remember. We're getting used to this. Last week now, I uploaded a new Dale Marshall episode after taking a bit of a hiatus. I didn't upload any new videos in February since I was re-uploading all the Dale Marshall pals, and I didn't want any of my newer stuff to get buried with that. So I didn't really upload any new videos back in February.
Right.
But I got these two Dale Marshall episodes, the one that's going to come out later on this week, and then the one about my video game collection I made back in February. And I'm proud of both of those videos because I got to boast a little bit about some of the games I have. But this question is more towards you, since I kind of talked about my goal of a video game collection. Have you ever dreamed of having a whole, being able to have one complete set of a video game console, whether it being a whole complete US set of PS2 games, PS3 games, stuff like that?
The thing is that I've always thought of that ideal, but then my mind cancels that ideal, and it's like, do I really want all of that rubbish? You know, because I mean, no offense, I've actually looked into the library myself.
And there's a lot.
In terms of US games, keep in mind, Japan probably has a lot more different variety. Some better, some worse. But it's not that I don't want a whole PS2 collection. Let's put it this way. If for some reason I get to a point in my life where I lose my sense of reality...
So pretty much me!
And I end up having the majority of my collection need it. And if I have the space to where I feel like, you know what, I could probably pull off a whole collection of PS2 titles, I might actually do that. But considering that the majority of the titles, let's put it this way. How many games are there for the PS2?
I don't know. There's too many.
I know there's well over 1,000. There's definitely well over 1,000. But at least about 40% of that is somewhat garbage, if not somewhat
shovelware, sports titles,
yes,
really bad games that people just want to forget about.
Especially sports titles. Oh my gosh. It's bad enough whenever they mass produce these games. It's another thing where they create one every year or every 6 months, it seems.
Yeah, almost.
And trust me whenever I say this, if I wanted to go for it, it would definitely be the PS2. I've actually thought about the PlayStation 1, but then it's like, no, I think PS2 would be better because that's what sort of spawned the hardcore gaming genre that started me in that particular aspect. It wasn't the N64, which even though it was our first console, I still liked the console, but it wasn't the one that got me into the hardcore gaming scene. It was more towards the PS2 thanks to Kingdom Hearts. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the PS2 for its graphical improvements as well as its hardware push. So it's sort of like, I like the system enough to where if I feel like I want to, I probably will go for a full PS2 collection. But that probably won't happen until probably next 5 years or so.
Yeah, for me, this is something I've been debating back and forth about a whole complete N64. Because like you, there's great games on there, but there's also a lot of sports titles as well. But the reason why I decided to go ahead and just say I'm just gonna go ahead and complete it. It's not because I want to save it for a few years and then sell it for a gajillion million pounds. No, I don't want to do that. Because I love the system. The history of it is very intriguing, very interesting.
Oh yeah, very much
love some of the games that's on my all-time favorites is on that. And I guess it's kind of like a bucket list where I want to say I want to at least complete one complete gaming collection system. I know someone commented saying why not get an EverDrive, and that will be a cheaper option. But I think if you love the system so much and you want to go and get a complete set, then that option's right there. Plus, there's tons of other titles on the N64 that people don't even talk about that are great, that are overshadowed by, your high-profile games and then buried underneath all that sports titles.
Oh, yeah.
So it's more like an Easter egg hunt for me to see, okay, I'm going to pick up this game, and it might be good, it might be a surprise. I mean, two of my favorite games, Duck Dodger 64 and Mickey Speedway USA, which I'm planning on revisiting on the Delmar show, actually. Those two are one of my favorites. They may not be like the most high-profile best, but they're like, buried underneath the system library that people would go, that's very surprising to see, that was pretty good. So who knows what other titles. I know Mischief Makers is one that people really love, and Ogre Battle 64, I think it was on the Wii Virtual Console, I believe, but
I think so, yeah.
No one I know has never talked about it at all, but I heard it is pretty good.
The one that I'm looking forward to trying out, and it's one that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. It isn't until you actually bring it up that you start to hear it, but no one talks about it secludedly. And that is the Armored Core series. They first started off on the PlayStation 1, if I'm not mistaken, and they have Multitude on the PS2, and a continuation on the PlayStation 3, but none on the PS4 yet. In fact, I was talking to this one guy whenever I was getting the cover made for the Armored Core 3 that I've got, and he was saying that he hadn't heard anything about the PS4 release, or if there is one. And I was like, you know what, come to think of it, there isn't one yet.
Is it made by From Software?
Yeah, technically it's made
They're
by
probably
From
busy with other projects.
Oh yeah, a lot of different projects, considering they just did Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and then of course, soon later, Dark Souls Remastered, obviously.
Yeah.
So they got their hands full at the moment right now. So I say that's where this break for Dark Souls and everything like is coming in, is because they realized they hadn't made another Armored Core game, and they're probably going to be working on that after this Shadows Die Twice scenario, which we still don't know what that is.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just the whole complete dream video game collection. I am going to go for a complete N64. That's probably it. I'm not going to go for a whole, I don't know, like maybe I might, something I kind of dream, but like maybe do a whole complete Wii U, since I love that system as well. I don't care what anyone says.
And sadly, there isn't really a lot of games, so you can easily get that.
Yeah, but there's also a few, well, for me, one thing I also love about completing the N64 is that there's 296, which is small compared to like the NES or PS2, but most of the games are fairly reasonably priced. There's a few high profile ones like Stun Racer 64, Worms Armageddon, Conquest Bad Fur Day is another one, but like there's not so many expensive ones that I think is much easier. You can start it with the cheaper ones, get huge bundles, find them at thrift stores or whatnot, and then during that time, as you could save money, you could go for the bigger ones. So I'll probably end up using my tax returns next year on some of the more expensive ones, which I think, I worked hard, and yeah, that's probably like something I might do.
Thankfully, there isn't really a expensive game. Now, I say expensive in terms of like over $100. That would be considered to be outrageous expenses.
For what?
PS2 titles.
Yeah, well,
there are a couple of rare titles, admittedly, but there are none that I've seen that cost over $100. At the highest, I think maybe $70 to $75.
What about Red of Roses? That it's like a horror game. for
Oh,
the
that
PS2?
one. I think that one's like... I think on the high end that I've seen is like 80 to 89.
Well, I thought it was more than that.
As far as I know, I have not seen a higher price.
Is it disc alone? Or?
It's disc and case.
Oh,
So I imagine if there is another one, it's probably a altered version or Japanese version, probably, because they do have altered covers. But as far as I know, I don't know. Maybe I hadn't looked hard enough, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, but I just figured I'd mention that since I released that Delmartia episode, which has kind of transformed. It was originally going to be like a whole 100 video for my channel, but I lost count of how many videos I made, so I postponed it and released it for this. So that's funny how that works.
Yeah.
But what's your topic for today?
One that I thought of, and we talked briefly about this, but I want to go ahead and kind of continue on this one, and that is having a copy of a game you already have, but on different consoles. Now, I thought about this as I was like looking through and everything like that, and for titles like God of War, Shadow of Colossus, Ico, Kingdom Hearts, and stuff like that, I've got the majority of them on the PlayStation 3 system, but very few do I have them on the PS2, and that's because whenever I was a kid, whenever they were being released for the PlayStation 3, I was thinking to myself, why would I need two versions of the same game that I've got? And now that I'm older, I realize there is actually a bit of difference. Not a drastic difference, but enough to where it is noticeable to the eye.
For me, since you have the PS3 most of the time, I'd rather have the original PS2 copies of like Ratchet & Clank, Sly Cooper, and Jak and Daxter to play anytime instead of having to take the PS3 from you. Because since we usually have like one system, like sure we may have two PS2s and two PS4s, but we don't have like 5 game. Oh, wait, we actually got 2 game keys. I just realized that was the one that James
technically we
gave
do.
you.
Yeah.
But we don't have like 2.
2 of every console.
Yeah, and for me, I just always love playing the original. Not saying the HDs are bad. I just like to play the originals of how they were originally meant to play. Unless like the only reason I would go and play a reamp version is either because they added brand new content to the game, fixed a lot of the bugs, fixed the control issues that the original may have, stuff like that. Like with Pokken Tournament and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, they added stuff to them instead of just pulling it over to the Switch. And that, to me, is the reason why I'm probably going to buying those again. I'm debating on it, but since it's going to be a different version than the original, that's enough for me to get it different. But you're talking more specifically, say like I have Psychonauts for the Xbox, but you're wanting to get the original PS2 version, even though they're both the same thing, just different consoles.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really a bad thing, as long as you really love the game that much.
Right, exactly. And what's funny is that there was a comment made, because I had briefly talked about it in a vlog video, but someone mentioned of how technically Final Fantasy IV has had multiple ports. You've got the regular NES version. You've then
NES? You said Final Fantasy IV, right?
Yeah, 4.
SNES.
Is it SNES?
Yes.
Why do you put down NES then?
No, because Final Fantasy 1 through 3 was on NES, 4 through 6 was on SNES. So, and Final Fantasy 4 we got as Final Fantasy 2 here in the States.
Right. But Final Fantasy 4 was released for SNES, like you said. We then also had it released for the DS with revamped graphics.
Was it on the PS1 Anthology?
Anthology, yes. It was released for the PS1. It was also released for PC as well as for Android phones, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's a PSP version called Final Fantasy IV Complete Edition, where it had Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy IV After Years, which is a sequel, which I...
Oh, okay, so it combines 2 games in one.
Yeah. Now, I hadn't heard much about After Years, but I've briefly heard people talk about it a lot, but not enough to where it's like intriguing. Yeah, there you go.
Well, I mean, they're all released on different systems, and each one's aging like SNES, but then when you jump to PS1, it'll have like better audio sound, better visuals, and then jump to like PSP and PC, because you get to see the advancements of how much they can take the same game but can change it, and you can notice the differences, say which one is your better version.
And plus, with some certain ones, like for example, when it comes to Final Fantasy Origins, you have Final Fantasy 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 1. But then you've got the PSP, where it has Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2. And while both of them are two completely different systems, one's a home console and one's a handheld. And while you can't technically transfer data from both consoles, they're both basically the same game. So you're both basically the same game. So it's like, say, you're wanting to play through Final Fantasy 1, and you're on the road, you've got it for the PSP. You want to play Final Fantasy 1, but you're at home, you can start it up on your console.
Yeah, but but like for the same, like those are generation gaps. You'll want to talk mostly about like released during the same console generation, like a game that was released on Xbox, PS2, and GameCube. What about those situations?
Again, back to what you were saying before. It depends on your love for the console itself. If you like the PS2 better than the Xbox, then more than likely you're going to get the PS2 version regardless of it. Now, if people are favored for the Xbox, then they're probably going to get the Xbox version.
Yeah, because I actually like the controller for the original Xbox. I know you won't, so I could see why you would rather have the PS2 version of Psychonauts, and me favoring more for Psychonauts on the original Xbox, which, since you mentioned the label thing, I need to print out a new label because I don't have the original case for Psychonauts, and I would like to get reprinted again to your nice.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like I look at my collection and I look at all the PS2s, and while the majority of the PS2 titles are like games that I have played or games that I'm going to be playing later on, the games that I have played are not including like God of War or Shadow of Colossus, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, stuff like that. I've got Kingdom Hearts 2, but I don't have a Kingdom Hearts 1 game because technically that copy is yours.
Yes, it was my birthday gift. I love it so
and
much.
I feel bad that I haven't gotten my own copy after all these years. I may do that sometime later on. I don't know.
Yeah, which is strange because, I mean, you're always welcome to borrow it, you know? I'm not going to say, you cannot play my original game. Get your own, you silly slugger!
But it's just, considering the fact that it is my favorite game of all time, it just makes sense for me to have my own copy after all.
Yeah.
But I guess it's one of those lines of like, considering I have so many other games I wanted to get, those are more or less on the far sideline of where if for some reason I haven't encountered any other games, I may get those in the process of it all.
Yeah. But, I don't see anything wrong with like having the same game for a different console, even though you have it for a different one, you know? I mean, you're planning on getting Nightmare Creatures, and I'm planning on getting it on the N64, but they both offer two completely different experiences.
Right.
Which is, I think it's great that you experience games. One may be inferior to another, but still, it's like, it plays differently, and, you know, I think that's a fun experience, you know, playing a game you already know, but then when you're playing another console that was released in the same generation that has some slight differences, it's like, wow, that's actually intriguing there.
Mm-hmm.
But,
plus different control functionalities as well.
Yeah, I got the Huawei Pad 64 for my system, so I don't have to worry about how awkward the original, even though I still like it, you know?
So what else have you got, Daniel?
Okay. This one I'm saving technically for a vlog that I'm going to do later on. But I think I want to mention you because I think you have an interesting history regarding this. You've been on YouTube for about 3 years now, right?
Yeah, 3 years.
And I've been
officially 3 years.
Yes. Happy birthday to you. You live in our zoo. You look like a Goomba, and you smell like lavender scented Glade plugins.
I don't know if I should take that as an insult or a compliment, considering
Hey, lavender scent is good, you know.
Yeah, but I don't like lavender.
Well, fine, be that way. But this is one that I'm planning on doing a vlog for myself, as I've experienced this so much. Have you ever had a video idea, but it takes you so long to achieve that, or a video idea that you had, but it transforms into something else completely? Like imagine being stuck on a video, like you thought this video idea is like, oh, this is so cool, but then it takes you months to even years before that video comes to fruition, and it's completely different from what you usually think it was.
Well, I'm doing it right now. I can't say what it is because technically it is a surprise, but technically right now there is this video that I am working on, and it's drastically different than most of my other videos that I do. And most people, when they look at it, they'll say that I am kind of taking ideals from previous others, but I'm combining them in a unique way. And in a sense, I'm trying to do it in a sense that I see it through my eyes.
And you don't want to act like copy of person. You just want to try your own take on it. Right,
exactly. And who knows, if for some reason this particular project I'm working on works out very well, I may end up doing like a second video of it. I don't know. I'm not going to say because at the same time...
Yeah, secret, I know.
But yeah, as of right now, there technically is one that I am working on, and even playing through as we speak, I've discovered stuff that I didn't know even existed. So in other words, I'm having to go through my script that I originally wrote and edit it a little bit here and there. But at the same time, it is that process of playing through the games, getting the recording, and then write down the stuff that you think is necessary for the actual script of the video itself, and then there's recording the audio, and then editing the video in the process. The editing, I imagine, will take even longer, but it's a matter of let's see what happens.
For me, it being 7 years on YouTube, I can't believe it's been that long. Where did the time go? Where did it go, seriously? To decide to take a trip to Albuquerque and stay there and then come back 5 years later, it's like, hi, I never left. But there's been many videos I have that I thought about for years and years, and it takes so long because either I don't know how I want the video to be presented, or I get so distracted with other videos in the process. There's two examples, one of them being my Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Block cartoon review, which I wanted to do a review from the very beginning, but I didn't have the DVD of all 6 episodes, and it took so long to change. Now I'm actually planning on re-reviewing it because you look at my review. Not that I'm not proud of it, I mean it's the most watched video on here, but just because it is, doesn't mean it's the best video I've made. I think I could have done a lot better making my points stronger, and I think just doing my style as me and not doing a format of the Nostalgia Critical like how I did in the early Dale Marshall episodes. But I'm not disappointed by it because even though it took so long, I'm glad that I was able to get it out how it was, but now I want to try doing something different in the future. But then I got one video project that, going back, I think the early draft of it took about since 2014 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk about this video project, but I'm slowly thinking it together. But it's one of those videos that you think it's like, I want to make it, but it's a slow transition. It's like how you want it to be, and then trying to get it together is even harder because so many changes goes on once you have a video idea, and then once you get to it, it's like, I want to change this, and it completely changes the video into a totally different direction.
Right.
I don't want to talk too much about it because again, it's for upcoming vlog I want to do. I just want to ask your opinions about if there's any videos that's been stuck, and I know you said the podcast is one of them.
Well, was one of them. Keep in mind, if I was wanting to do a podcast, I wanted to do it with someone else, and that's where this kind of transitioned as it is.
Yeah.
But as of now, there's only one video that I'm currently working on right now, and like you said, as working on it as we speak, there are some changes that I've been doing here and there. And so far, I've got half of the recording done. I'm just needing to get the other half started. But that's for a later subject at hand, probably within the next couple of months per se. But at any rate, though, I guess we can move on to this subject that I've got.
Oh dear.
Which is it wrong to make labels for your games? Now, I bring this up because for some odd reason, Pat and Ian get so patriotic with this subject. They get so patriotic. I understand in terms of the overall value of the game. I get that part. And I get that it's up to the responsibility of the person who trades in that game to let the person know that, hey...
It is a reproduction label.
Yeah, the label is a reproduction, but the game cartridge or disc, whatever one it is the actual thing. And let's put it this way, physical media does deteriorate over time. There is proof of that.
Heck, even disc, like, even Blu-ray, DVDs, there's like disc, I forgot what it's called, Metal Jesus Rocks talked about it, how disc are kind of degrading a little bit. It doesn't happen quickly, because disc can last for long, but if you don't properly, like, store the disc in a little case, or if you leave them flat out on a table, it will deteriorate and there'll be like small little cracks, and there's no cure because this is something that's been happening as of recently.
Right.
So I understand. So physical media can deteriorate a bit,
and it bugs me that it bugs Ian and Pat so much. I get where they're coming from. I really do. But the overall status is that if you love the game that much, it doesn't really matter if you do make a reproduction label or not. Now, I do understand the fact that if you try to resell it for a high price and claim that the relabel itself is...
to be fair...
That is bullcrap.
I look at it this way. For cartridges, no. That is not. Like, because if the label... I'm trying to think of the right words here. Like, for cartridges, it'll be harder, because if you just got a blank cartridge, you don't know what it'd be, but you need a label. But keep in mind, they can easily take a cartridge, whip it out, put it in, like, they can just fool anyone. Like, say, if you got an NES copy of Flintstones Return to Dinosaur Peak, like, if you decide to take a game like, say, Ninja Gaiden, rip the label off and put a repro label of the Flintstones Dinosaur Peak, and sometimes people won't even check, like, the copy lens to see if it's the correct game. That is something that I think is really bad. It's like, if you get a repro label, you don't know if they rip the label off and put a fake on a completely different game entirely, or switch the copy lens with a completely different game chip entirely. So that part I can understand them being hesitant. Disc games, however, I don't think I worry too much, because I'm noticing there's been a lot of more loose PS1 games overall, like getting loose and trying to find one that has the original packaging, label, manual, and stuff makes sense.
I know for a fact that getting Medieval 2 and then Heart of Darkness in its actual original case was actually the hardest one, because I hadn't seen it except for once, and when I did see it at the physical store, mind you, not online, but physical store, they were asking for like a bit more than what people were asking for. Like Medieval 2, the average pricing is like $65. They were asking, and keep in mind, it was just the case and the disc and manual itself. It wasn't brand new in factory still or anything like that.
It just had everything in it that someone decided to trade in.
And they were asking for $75.99. And it's like, oof.
Yeah, but then you eventually just found the disc.
Yeah, I found the disc version for like $17, and in which case I've gotten used to the idea of like printing PlayStation 1 covers and putting it in the case and everything like that, and it looks just as good, in my personal opinion. The PlayStation 2, however, is a little bit harder, but I've decided to finally just go to Staples, and they do just a good job.
But I think what makes it okay, in my opinion, for the like PS2, GameCube, PS3, like stuff like that, for replacing labels, is that it's all about the disc. Like, people just want to play the game, they just want the disc itself, and you can't. I know people can burn disc, but you can tell which is real and which is fake with burned disc.
Oh yeah, you can.
And if you
tell.
trade in a game that has if you just made a actual case label for Medieval 2, but the disc is original, then it's like, okay, well the case is fake, but you got the actual game. That's good. You're not trying to sell just a blank case with a fake label. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Cartridge games, I agree with the reasoning for that.
Admittedly, the cartridge games is actually a lot harder to fixate, and with some people they can actually make counterfeits, but because of it, they're actually fairly noticeable. Like, there's some dumb people out there that forget to realize that, hey, if I print out this label, someone might notice it. No, they're thinking, no one's going to notice it.
But with PS2 and GameCube, you can tell if it's real or fake. Because, I don't really see, anyone using, the same kind of paper quality for a PS4 label or something like that, you know?
Right.
So for me, I think when it comes to, if you just want to make a custom label for a loose PS2, PS1 game, I think it's fine. Plus, the cover of most PS1 games is the manual itself. So if you open it and you don't see a manual, it's just, they just made a custom label, that's it.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But cartridge games, it's no. Even if it's even if you get Flintstones' Dinosaur Peak with the original game chip in it, but the label is in very poor condition, I'm happy I got the game. Sure, its label may not be good, but I'd rather have the game chip in it rather than getting a game that looks really fancy, but someone put in a fake label over Ninja Gaiden or something, I'd rather that be the case.
Right.
But, let's go ahead and do some fan questions here.
Yay!
Yeah, this one comes from Fancy Cuffs, who did some animations for Delmar Palace,
as well as done the art style for our Kingdom Hearts playthrough with our models.
Yes. Also, he created Bufrap, from A Link to the Past.
I know.
Let the quest of Bufrap begin! Anyway, his question was, which video games made you cry or get emotional over?
Oh dear Lord, there are a couple of them actually, because
No spoilers. No spoilers.
That's going to be harder said than done, but alright then. The first game that actually made me emotionally cry was that of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII for the PSP. I am surprised they haven't remade that for any of the newer systems, like PS4 for that matter.
I'm surprised
considering the fact that they have done the Assassin's Creed series whenever they did the Liberty and stuff, and then some of the other titles. I am surprised out of all of the games they haven't put Crisis Core. I am very disappointed in Square Enix on that part. That is a good game. But the ending of that one, because Zack Fair...
No spoilers?
I'm not.
Just saying,
It just... Zack Fair, you heard very little in the main Final Fantasy VII game. So it's like as soon as you see him, you're not going to think that he's going to be that big of a deal of a character. But the way they made him so intriguing and so invested in the story, you get so attached to it, and then what happens at the ending, you just end up crying. You just end up bawling in tears. And then the second game that I've actually got emotional was Shadow of Colossus for the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that it was going to look good, but I had no idea that it was going to look as good as whenever I started to play it. I got so emotional because the people who remade this wasn't Team Ico, even though they did take part of the project.
It was somebody else.
It was Bluepoint that did the majority of the work. They did a fantabulous job remaking this, and it's just I couldn't get over all of the finer details that they had fixed, as well as some fine-tuning in terms of graphical improvements. For example, my two favorite bosses in Shadow of Colossus is the 6th and 7th Colossus, I think is the number. The Sea Dragon one, and then the one that kind of reminds me of the Kimono Dragon looking one, where it climbs up the walls.
Yeah.
Those two are my absolute favorite, and they have helped improve them in dramatic ways. For example, the Sea Dragon one has been graphically improved to some degree to where even whenever you strike out all the horns, you can still see him a little bit better, even underneath the depths of the water. Like, you can actually see finer details of him. And it is so miraculously amazing. I'm going to have to say, it's going to be hard to go back to the PS2 version because of how dramatically well done they done it.
I still need to play the remake.
You should. It's a really good remake. But also, too, the Seventh Colossus, the Komodo Dragon one, in the original PS2 as well as the HD remaster of the PlayStation 3, he spits out his attacks, but they look like gas mixed with lightning bolts. In the remake, it actually looks like a poison gas. And it's like, they actually made it look like an actual poison gas and not just like have those little spark effects out there. Because when you see this,
makes it really confusing trying to figure out what it is exactly.
Yeah, it's like, is it a thunder attack or is it supposed to be a poison gas?
Is he barfing out mayonnaise that's boiled too long?
Yeah, it's like, because at the time, yes, admittedly, Shadow of Colossus was outstandingly pushed to its limits in terms of gameplay and graphic habilitation. And so, this game being re-released for the PS4 and remastered gives it that solitary confinement that this game still stands the test of time. And in terms of the remaster, this is probably the best remaster version I think have ever played in the longest of time. Now that's going to say a lot because we still don't know about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, absolutely nothing.
To be fair, don't really remember any games that made me cry, honestly.
Any game that kind of made you emotional?
Well, I mean, there's games that I have an attachment to, like Breath of the Wild, but none that, like, actually physically made me cry. However, there was one, and this was Super Mario Odyssey. I remember going through New Donk City, and this level, like, near the end, once you get, like, the main story missions for New Donk City, there's one in there that I got emotional and actually cried because, I mean, one hand, it was beautiful. I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to spoil anyone who hasn't played it. However, going through that level and just seeing how much Mario has evolved from this little character from an arcade now to become one of the biggest video game mascots ever, it got me emotional because I love the Mario games. I know some people know that it's not as deep within lore or have strong characters, but I don't care about that. I just love that Mario just loves to have fun. Yes, he has to go through saving the princess and the world over and over, but he enjoys having fun exploring all these new sights and sounds with new people to join him along his quest, and I just love his simplicity that even though he's having to go through Bowser's crap all over again, that he's gonna have a good time with it, and that's important. And I got so emotional playing that one level in New Donk City. It's just, oh yeah. But that was the only game that I really cried. Yes, I have attachments to some video games, but none of them actually made me physically tear up, except Mario Odyssey. I know that's sad, but you know, I'd rather not cry over like, oh yes, the Undertale made me cry by the moment I booted off. No, I can't, you know. But what was your real question of?
Actually, I didn't have any because of the fact that, well, they didn't really get spawned up in on my YouTube page or anything like that. I think most people, we're going to see it more on your email page because of the fact that we have been putting it up there on there. So,
okay, I actually do have one more fan question.
Okay, let's go ahead and answer that then.
I'd like to try at least answer two if possible.
I was thinking one or two, depending on the fluctuation of questions. But
yeah,
let's go ahead and answer
this one here. It's by NBC Mekchu. I think, is that it? NBC
Mekchu, yeah.
Mekachu?
It's Mekchu.
Alright, NBC Mekchu, who asked it about VeggieTales last podcast, actually, said, what shows do you remember from your childhood that you find to be underrated / not talked about as much in present day? Or at least that's how you typed it. Pretty much any shows that we find underrated.
At first, there was Rocko's Modern Life, but because of the recent announcement for the movie, I don't think now is underrated anymore, considering the fact that that movie has already...
When is it coming out?
I don't know. I only know I saw the teaser trailer, but then it's like, I don't know when they've confirmed a release for it.
I know the Hey Arnold Jungle movie is out, but not Rocko's Modern Life.
I'll have to look that up later on and see. But if I had to say a particular show that I watched that got underrated, it would have to be The Angry Beavers. I love The Angry Beavers. I have to admit, growing up, I did love Ren and Stimpy. It's kind of fallen on the wayside. I do love the first and second season.
The other seasons are good too. I still like them.
Yeah, they are good, but I like the first and second seasons better. Rocko's Modern Life, I do like it. It just, later on in the season, it does kind of lose its interest. But Angry Beavers, so far, I've watched the entire series, and I have not gotten tired of it once. For some reason, they have this material that works for them. And the unfortunate thing is that the last video that they had done for the show got them canceled.
And it was an April Fool's video, was it not?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, they were talking about how they were being canceled. And then sure enough, they got canceled. Because, you want to know why they got canned?
They broke the fourth wall.
They're not supposed to break the fourth wall at all. There is, and I'm sure a lot of people have noticed it, but there are rules when it comes to shows stating that they cannot break the fourth wall at all.
But it's fun!
That means that they would hate Deadpool. They would hate Deadpool with a passion, because he breaks the fourth wall over 100 times.
Heck, Neptune, there's actually a funny little comic that has both Neptune and Deadpool just fighting. They're like, how do we get out? And then they see the last panel, and they like have their arms out of the panel, you know, just searching. Like, I'll have to show you, it's cute, but
But yeah, it's like Deadpool would be like, so, I'm not supposed to break any fourth wall, huh? Well, it looks like this show's only going to last for one episode. But
yeah,
it just...
And it was fully voiced, like they had all the voices already recorded and the storyboard as well.
Oh yeah, and if you've got the DVD of it, you can still watch it. It's really interesting to watch as to how they kind of crumbled themselves into that realm, but at the same time, I felt like it had a good chance to continue on at least another season if needed to be.
I would love to see them do like with Hey Arnold and Rocko's Modern Life, do a little movie or special for Angry Beavers.
That would be interesting. I would appreciate.
I know they would never do that for Ren and Stimpy because, well, very complicated relationships going on between that crowd.
Honestly, it would be pretty cool to see the Angry Beavers being brought back into a movie form. Because really, the only movie form that they have is technically a 2-episode part of the Halloween special. And that was it. There was nothing else after that.
Yeah. For me, this is actually a show that's also on Nickelodeon. It was on Nicktoons, but then eventually got to Nickelodeon. This is a show that I think that it's underappreciated, and I'm going to be... I haven't really talked about much on the show, on the Delmar show. I did make one small joke that's referenced to one of my favorite episodes, but this is a show called Kappa Mikey. It is about this American teenager who just got out of theater school, looking for a career to star in a television show or Broadway or whatever, but it's rejected. Meanwhile, in Japan, there's the show called Lily Moo, and the show is needing a new superhero to join in with the Lily Moo crew. And so they do this contest, and Mikey Simon gets the part, and they just go on a bunch of hilarious adventures that go like all production goes wrong, and it makes fun of a lot of animes. It's just like a love letter to anime fans that grew up during that time. Like, it just mocks them. Like, one of my favorite jokes is like they got this Yugimoto character, and his hair is just really whacked out. It's just, and the characters are so much fun. I love Gonad and Grano, and it's just a fun show. Plus, the boss he's just so hilarious. Just his outrages. And I guess there's one thing that I didn't like about the show is how, even though all, like, Lily, Misuki, and Gona, they all have very hilarious anime expressions, But Mikey Simon, he doesn't like have any outrageous faces. He just looks very plain. I would say it's a tackle on how American animation has gone simplified.
There you go.
But keep in mind, this was released in 2005? Yeah, 2005.
Well, that was whenever the transition began, probably, I say.
Yeah, but it wasn't that noticeable at the time, so I guess it's kind of like that. But I would have wished they would have had Mikey have more bigger facial expressions. In fact, there's one joke in one of the first few episodes where all the characters just had this giant gasp face and Mikey Simon's looking at them confused, and it's like show-offs. So it makes fun of itself a little bit. I mean, I just think the show is great. If you are a fan of anime, I do recommend watching it. There are some episodes that may not hit home run compared to others, but I personally love it. One of the jokes that I'm just going to go ahead and spread the joke. There's a joke that I did in the Pokken tournament review where if Hamas didn't tell me who broke the chair, it's like, I will destroy all the candy bars in the world! There's this episode where the boss is like trying to figure out who ate his jade tigerfish that's like one of the last ones in the world, and he's trying to get Gonal to tell his side of the story, and Gonal's like, no, I'll never tell, and he just holds out his cookies like, if you don't tell, I will destroy all the cookies in the world! Gonal just gets so scared, who, by the way, he's voiced by the same guy who does Goku. Beautiful. It's like, it was her! If he points to Liz, it's like, please, spare the cookies! And he just destroys it. It's like, no! Actually, now that I think of voice actors, the actress who voices as Misuki actually voices as Ram and Vert in the Neptuna series. So it's like, it's all slowly coming together, these weird connections with voice actors. You just gotta love it when you find voice actors voiced in different shows,
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that show deserves some more praise. And Angry Beavers too. I would love to see them both come back or people talk about them more.
Do they have a season box set of Capital Mikey?
The only DVD set they have had like the first 6 episodes. Other than that, no.
Are you serious?
Well, it wasn't as hugely popular because again, it was released on the Nicktoons network, which is where all the cancer shows get replayed. You remember Nicktoons?
Yeah.
And then they later got on Nickelodeon, but it didn't last that long, I don't believe.
Huh.
And the creator has created other shows for Nicktoons, like he did Fleet Delivery, this weird Speed Racer reboot as well. That was in 2008, I think. So he's done work, but luckily you can view the episodes on like different stuff, like WatchCartoon.com or Kiss Cartoon, stuff like that. Which it's a good show. I would love to see a complete box set. I also like to see a complete box set of Jimmy Neutron because I actually really like that show, but I've not seen it happen.
But I guess that's going to be it for this podcast, ain't it?
Yeah, it was fun. Got to run this on Captain Mikey there for quite a while. But anyway, if you guys like this podcast, let us know. If you have any suggestions for future topics, please email us at danielmullinsflea@gmail.com or post a comment here. And something I forgot to mention as well, because I know people who are watching this show or watching it on this channel like, where's episode 2? Well, every week we're... oh gosh. Every week when we make an episode, each episode will be uploaded in a 2-week period on each channel. Like, the first one episode will be uploaded here, and then next week an episode will be uploaded on his channel. Then next week it'll be uploaded here. It'll be vice versa an episode. But luckily I have a playlist, so if you want to watch the second episode, you can click on that as well.
And the same will be done for mine as well.
Wish check out his channel. He needs more people. He's crying for help. No. Hold your head out like in Oliver Twist. Please sir, could I have some more?
Could I have some more subs? I was actually going for the whole Puss and Boots thing. It was like,
no, I'm a favor for Oliver Twist. It's like, please. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this podcast, and we will see you guys in the next one. So, bye-bye.
See you later, guys.
Bye. It's still chilly. I wish it could warm up a little bit.